The following content may contain spoilers and jumping and pressing the circle button. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Those Common Nerds, our podcast. You know, this episode that we were trying to do every week, and it's been like, I don't know, 2 months since.
Yeah, we've been in issue after issue. But hey, we're here. We're finally ready to do this.
We are here. That writing on the wall will finally be explained in all my past videos of those who watch them. Our videos, I should say. So today's episode is very simple. It's very chill, I would say. We're going to be talking about our top 3 games. This list was a pain in my ass.
I had a little bit of an easier time. I got a couple games that sit up very high on my list for me, above everything else.
It's like saying, what's your favorite movie? It's very difficult.
The Big Lebowski. Very easy.
Fair enough, Tremors. But, I mean... I guess this one was a little harder because I like all the different games most of them for all different reasons. But, as, you know, we came up with a list, we added a little, we changed some stuff, we got it written down because we couldn't remember the shit we wrote on that board.
So yeah, our top 3 games each, and then plus like 20 other games as honorable mentions.
Yeah, the good amount of honorable mentions, and then stuff that we hope to see in the future as this video is being recorded. So, I guess I'll go ahead because I'm the first one with Space Adventure 2.
Space Adventure 2.
And that one would have to be Mass Effect 2.
I have never played it.
And that is a goddamn shame because it is the best in the trilogy.
Okay.
I think at least. So my story with the Mass Effect series, I was kind of tied between this one and the Dragon Age series, but ultimately I chose this one because this series came first.
Okay.
And it was ultimately this series that led me into Dragon Age. So
fair enough.
you got, that older...
I think I didn't play it because it came out around the same time as Gears of War, and all my friends were playing Gears of War. And then when I went to play Mass Effect, the systems of shooting, taking cover were similar, and I wanted something different at that time. I didn't want to keep playing the same kind of game, So I moved on to something else.
So one of the things I like to say about the Mass Effect series is, growing up, everybody has that kind of series they discover on their own. Mm-hmm. For me, I was introduced to Star Wars. I was slowly introduced to Star Trek. That was more my parents' field. I liked Star Wars more as a kid. I had more interest in it then. But for Mass Effect was that sci-fi series that I found that I could dive into, and I actually learned a lot about just everything in it. And the first Mass Effect was ironically my first Xbox 360 game. And okay. I did not appreciate it then.
No?
No, because I was given Mass Effect 3 and then BioShock.
Okay.
And I had tried Mass Effect 3 and I wasn't really getting the gameplay of it too much. So it wasn't the best first one to play on the 360. So I tried BioShock. BioShock I like. It was a good game and everything. And then I saw it fast forward into the future. I saw Mass Effect 2 was announced. So I thought, okay, this game's getting a sequel, might as well give it a try. And boy, am I glad I did, because I fell in love with the series.
So your first game was Mass Effect 1?
It was. It was Mass Effect 1. I said 3?
You said 3 multiple times.
Well, shit. I guess
It's alright. It's alright.
Well, 3 has an also kind of place in my body part. Or at least the ending. So anyways, Mass Effect 1, singular, first one, was how I was introduced to the series, and I did. I enjoyed it very much. They went into great detail with everything. It wasn't, the gameplay was rough. Gameplay was certainly rough, but the story was what made up for it, and the characters was what made up for it too.
Made by BioWare?
And then it was made by BioWare, who did, I think, Jade Empire before, maybe.
They did Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah, Knights of the Old Republic.
Neverwinter Nights, which I love those games.
Yeah, so this was their first sci-fi outing with their own personal IP.
Okay.
And so I'm thinking, all right, well, I love this game, so I'm going to try the second one. The second one blew me away because, first of all, the gameplay was very much like Gears of War, but shit if it wasn't fun. because it had that Mass Effect skin, and it took out some elements. It made it was different. It was fresh, but it still had those characters, and they cleaned up the powers more. That's what you do with a sequel, Sean. You see, you fix the problem. You fix the problems with the first one, and then you build upon it in the sequel. And that's what they did here. And the story was already good in the first Mass Effect, and in the second one, it's fucking great. And it's one of those games where if you got to do certain things, otherwise the events will be very south. Like, you got to make the right choices. And you got to be prepared before you head out for that last mission. Because they make it clear in the story, it is a suicide mission in Mass Effect 2. And I must have played that game because I found out your crew can die.
Oh, jeez, okay.
If you take too long for certain events, people will die. It's one of those games, goddammit.
Okay.
Luckily, I've mastered this. I know which and all the orders to do it. The DLCs were all fun. That last one is still bullshit, even though it's a wave-based thing, and I feel like I should have killed everything, but no, I didn't, so it's still haven't gotten to it yet, but working on it. But yeah, it's definitely one of my favorites. Mass Effect 3 is... The gameplay's improved, the ending I disagree with. But, yeah, just Mass Effect 2 I can always go back to because... Shit if it doesn't hit me.
Okay. I get it, yeah.
So... I think I've spouted enough about Mass Effect 2 and mistakenly calling Mass Effect 1 Mass Effect 3. So, Sean, I think it's your turn to go with Biopolitics 4,
which,
a.k.a.
Resident Evil 4. I got this game when it came out. I was probably way too young to get it when it came out.
Well, I was too.
We got it at KB Toys, of all places. I got it on the GameCube, and then again on the PlayStation 2, and then again on the PC.
Toys R Us.
Yeah, they're out of business. But
one before the other.
I've probably played this game 50, 60 times through, just over and over and over again. I loved it. It was fresh. There was a new way of playing the game. They kept some of the horror aspects from the old games, but it wasn't too scary. It
was a change for the better.
Yeah, and then just the environment, the castle, the military island. I loved it all. It was a great game. The bosses were great. You had great side stories with like Ada. Mercenaries was fun. I really liked Mercenary mode. I played that for hours.
I almost got, like I told you before, I tried saving up money for a GameCube to get it. I was like, man, I want that fucking chainsaw controller.
Oh, yeah, right? I never got the chainsaw controller. I really wanted it, though.
Yeah, I did too, but then looking at it again, I was like, I don't like the fucking controller already.
I don't even know how I would be able to use that.
Yeah, right?
But it was better on PlayStation 2 for sure. That's where I played it most.
Yep, that was my experience,
GameCube,
thankfully.
I'd probably beat it like once on the GameCube.
That saved me $200.
Yeah. And then I ran through that over and over again, before work sometimes. There'd be times I just try to test myself, see how fast I could beat the game. The fastest time was probably like 2.5 hours.
So would you say you kind of like completed, or were a completionist for it?
Oh yeah, I've done it.
You did all the mini games. You found all the little trophies.
I found every trophy, all the challenges. The blue coins you had to shoot throughout the maps. I found all of those. I found every treasure. Yeah, I played through it multiple times. It was just great, and it was a nice change. And then 5 came out, and more of that just duck and cover and shoot system. And I didn't care for it at that time anymore. It was not fun. And then 6 came out. I liked it. 7 came out. It was all right to me. But then 8 came out, and it gave me that feel like 4 again. And so I'm playing through that one right now and really liking that one quite a bit.
Yeah, I would definitely say so. I would say 7 was another change in direction, which it kind of needed.
Mm-hmm.
And that was another thing for it was their test for their new engine, the RE engine, which managed to be a great success. But then the next game that they released following with the RE engine, I'm pretty sure the Monster World might have been one of them. The latest one that released.
The Monster Hunter games?
The major release.
Okay. I don't remember
PC one. I forget which one, with the Iceborne DLC.
Oh, yeah.
But anyways, the one that really tested, I guess the RE engine was Devil May Cry 5 at the time, right? Because then it wasn't just, first person. You got, Spiral and a bunch of different So then they came out and they could see what they could do with Resident Evil Village, and man, they took just the vibe of 4.
Yep, they really...
While still running with their own thing. Like, you get feelings of 4, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's hard not to.
Oh, yeah, no, it definitely gives me vibes to 4, especially that village with the werewolf guys and everything. Definitely reminded me of the village in 4. Only thing I really had against 4 is Leon is probably my least favorite character in the entire Resident Evil series.
Yeah, so that was my introduction to the Resident Evil series, and I liked him fine. I thought he was I thought he was a cool character. I didn't know anything about him. I mean, they said what he was in
2.
Yeah, what he was in 2, and I thought, wow, he's a Secret Service agent now. So I mean, and he's doing kicks. He's got a knife. I
mean, he was cool, but I liked the other characters more.
Understandable.
Claire's probably one of my favorite characters, which is why it was a hard choice between 4 or Code Veronica for me. Because Code Veronica, that one, it really hits the spot, and it's like the last one of that way of playing, you know, the over-the-top view, and it really had that horror feel still to it.
Yeah, there was, as you said, 4 was kind of, it brought the balance where it was introducing a new gameplay, but it still kept the horror aspect of it.
Oh yeah, and then
everything for Resident Evil, while still keeping it being its own identity, but still progressing with what the series
and they
had.
kind of got away from horror with 5 and 6. It turned more action, and I mean, I get it.
At the time, unfortunately, that's just kind of what happened to a series that didn't know what to do, and it saw Hollywood, and what really influenced it, unfortunately, was the movies. Because say what you want about those movies, they still made American money.
Yeah, it's true.
So,
it's just those were probably my least favorites of all of them.
I will say
the
this.
non-horror ones.
Well, I'll save it for later because there's an element there, but I'll save it for later. So, anything else you want to add?
I think that's about it for that. I mean, not much else to say about it. You play it multiple times, got the replayability.
So did you play? That was the one game I think I played with a Game Shark, going on hard mode, because I was not skilled enough or patient enough to do it without it.
Mine, did I beat it like 20 times through? Because you get the new game plus every time.
Yeah, and then you get the light gun and everything.
Yeah, it was
so I did do a regular gameplay with the light gun.
Yeah, and that's
I never
fun.
did.
That one was fun. But I did it on the professional mode because after beating it the first time, you know, you had the Tommy gun, you had the rocket launcher, and then there'd be times where
I didn't have the Tommy gun first. So
okay, the Tommy gun was.
It was until I got the Tommy gun with Leon's gangsta outfit because that gave Claire the fucking armor. Ashley, god damn it, yeah, Ashley.
Yep.
The armor, President's
But you
daughter.
can just shoot her over and over with the
yeah,
Tommy
you
gun.
couldn't shoot her in base game, even though she would get kidnapped. But God to help you if you shoot that little side of her, because then that kills her automatically.
Yeah, she was a very, very.
But
weak
put her in a suit of armor, then even though she has a thing up, but you aim the gun at her, then it goes down, so it saves her life.
Yep, that was great.
Keeps her immortal. Whatever.
So yeah, I had that. I had the Tommy gun. I had the infinite rocket launcher. I had the light gun. And then there'd be times where I'd play through with the Tommy gun, and there'd be times where I'd sell the Tommy gun and choose what gun I wanted to use, and then I'd upgrade it fully and play with just that gun. Like, I would just use just the shotgun throughout the game. That was hard. Not doing that again. There was some parts that I needed a sniper for, and I'm just like, yes.
It's ironic you're saying something, so I'm going to bring it up later on in the video, but keep going.
And then, there was ones where I tried to do the professional mode with only a sniper rifle. I never found the ammo I needed, so that was really hard. And then handgun, I would always just use a handgun because I love the handguns in the game. I love the way it played with the laser, and it just worked.
What was it? There was a kind of Resident Evil 4 /not clone that had elements of the original Resident Evil tank controls in it as well. But you were on a tankered ship, and it was some kind of just
Revelations?
No, it wasn't a Resident Evil game.
Oh, because Resident Evil Revelations, you're on a tanker
yes,
ship.
and which I find ironic because it was a PS2 game.
Okay.
And I never beat it, but man, if it didn't give it like kind of a combination of the 4. and my cast member needs to stop barking over there. Jaina,
Um,
hey, Jaina, come here. Jaina, I'm gonna have to cut this out. Jaina.
Jesus. Anyways,
Resume.
so that's what I was gonna say there. On the tankard ship.
Yeah, on a tankard ship. It was like Sunken Evil, Sunken Seas. I don't remember.
Okay.
I'm sure some vague ass reference will come up anyways. So go ahead.
Yeah, well, that's about what I got for that. So next we'll go on to what we're looking at here. We're looking at the Future Simulator Vegas Edition.
AKA Fallout New Vegas.
Now, I've played this one multiple times.
I have too. Multiple times. I've played it the same way multiple times, but god damn it, it's just so much fun.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I am a Fallout fanboy. I'd say the Bethesda era, unfortunately. I can't say I'm the original. Because I tried playing those games and I can't. Maybe if I tried today and when I tried
You're
it was just
3 era.
Yes, I was
which is
just
when
3
they
era.
changed it up, and that's... 3 was one of my favorite ones.
Yeah, and I liked it too. So when I saw this, I just thought, oh man, it's just going to be a crappy spin-off and not going to matter or anything like that. And then it was in October, and I think I was just talking to a guy at GameStop, and I had the money, and I wasn't planning on buying it, and I ultimately did. And boy, oh boy, am I happy I did, because I didn't realize it fixed most of the problems I had with 3, and the only problem I really had with 3 was just its gameplay, and it cleaned it up a bit, which is impressive considering this game took a year, 2 years, something like that. They didn't give not long at all. And I just had a blast with it. Another reason is because I grew up in the Mojave.
Yeah.
So these were some areas that I didn't realize. Well, again, I was a stupid teenager who didn't know no better.
Yeah, I think I was in high school when this one came out.
I was working Fright Fest when this came out. I remember it, and I was talking to the guys about it, who I was working with, and we were talking shop about it. It was just fun.
Yeah, it's a good game. That one was great. I really liked it. I liked the faction system on it. And
I guess
to choose which side you wanted to choose. And
yeah, and then it had a disguise system, like if what you were wearing would be representative of what side you were on. So obviously, if you were wearing a Caesar's Legion outfit, you would get shot up if you went to NCR because you were at war with them. But vice versa, if you were wearing an NCR outfit and going to a Legion area,
they would blow you away.
Yeah.
Which I wore the NCR Ranger armor everywhere.
Yeah, Ranger armor was pretty dope. I actually made a gameplay with just like Ranger playthrough.
Okay.
And I found this YouTube video like going through, because again, Fallout 4 or Fallout New Vegas was a game where it was made by the original team who made the first, or not, I guess team members who made the original Fallout, the Fallout games. And this was originally, the base plan of it was what was originally going to be Fallout 3 if the original teams had continued. I think it was the Van Buren Project, they called it.
Okay.
So they brought the elements into it, and I thought that was pretty dope. Even more, it's like even the cast they brought in, like this had Danny Trejo in it. And another thing is, one element that I liked that 3 kind of unfortunately had was if your companion died in 3,
that was it.
They're dead. Yeah.
They were gone.
It was, and you know how fucking hard it was to keep people alive. I give those sons of bitches fucking plate armor. Dog meat, I just rescued him. I was like, dog meat, stay in the house. You'll survive here.
Yeah.
Still died somehow.
Yeah.
So yeah, but at least you were able to like get multiple followers at the same. It was kind of the same thing with Oblivion, which was cool because I had like multiple followers because I did all the side stuff in there.
Yeah.
Got multiple followers and did the like Oblivion Gate in Bruma. It was like the ultimate like end battle army. I was like, I had my own troops and everything, and I was like, let's go, boys. Stupid. But anyways, Fallout New Vegas was a game I could just play and replay. There's just so much about it. And because, again, I grew up in the Mojave, I was kind of familiar with it. It was dope, like, driving through Vegas. We went through Buffalo Bills.
Yep. We went through there. We went through a couple places.
And it was like, that blew me away. It was like, oh, wait a minute, this is in the game. And it's like, it's just good. It's using your imagination and everything. And one thing about Fallout was great that I didn't even realize at the time was they had hidden... They already pretty much announced what all the DLC was going to be.
Yeah.
Because they had, like, hidden things going just throughout everything.
Yep.
Like, there was Dead Money, Honest Hearts, Old World Blues,
Yep.
and then Lonesome Road. And what was great about those was there was a little subplot going on through each of the previous three, which ultimately ended with the fourth one. Because there was always a mention of someone, and it was like, because at the end of Dead Money, you get told that, hey, I was told, spoiler alert, I should add, I'm going to have to throw that on there. You're told pretty much that, hey, it's funny running into you because I run into another courier, and he said he was looking for you. I was like, the fuck you talking about? Another courier walking? And then I realized there's a quest talking about when you go into, again, the Buffalo Bills area, where it was like, it's funny because the other courier who was supposed to take this job, he just kind of freaked when he saw your name. I was like, oh, is that the same dude? And it was. So it was cool, and it's just another thing you can play. And it was one of those things, again, being a game where it didn't necessarily hold your hand. Like, they would tell you at the beginning before you started the DLC, hey, you need to be this. We recommend you be this level to at least do all this. So pretty much me being able to like, well, you know what? I'm gonna play through all the main stuff, you know, up to the ending. Because if you beat the last mission, then unfortunately that ends the game.
Yeah,
doesn't continue over. So you know, I could do everything else around that. It's not too difficult. And then I would do the DLC. And boy, am I glad I did that. But I didn't do that the first time. So experiencing each one kind of at a higher level, but not as high as I should be. If I had to give a ranking, is I love Dead Money because it was I would say it was the first introduction, and it was kind of a horror experience to it. The characters in there you got were really interesting, and of course I appreciate a game that if you want to keep everybody alive, you gotta go through some hoops. You know, you don't have to keep everybody alive, but it's an option.
Yeah,
and I appreciate games like that. I'm just one of those guys, you know, Paragon all the way. But then the next one, Honest Hearts was, I liked the look of the area. I didn't care for the story too much, but the look of it, I liked. It actually made me want to go to the area, which I did with my sister.
Okay.
It was Zion National Park.
Okay.
It was very beautiful area, and I appreciated that I took the time, and I annoyed the hell out of my sister by quoting that trailer like a fucking 100 times. Hi, Kel. And then Old World Blues was just them bringing that wacky mystery science theater element of the Fallout series, like, and highlighting it. And you know, and I didn't think I'd like it that much, but at the end of the day, it was super good because, like, just add a snap of a finger, it goes from like, everything's funny, everything's goofy, and it's like, oh, wait, there's some actually serious shit going on right now. And it's like, whoa, where did this come from? But, yeah, and there was another thing that was just well done. And then Lonesome Road was, I didn't appreciate it at the time because one thing that bothered me is, like, all the other ones kind of had a introduction video, and that one didn't, but I understand why now. Yeah. And but it was definitely harder. It was like kind of a bit of a hard mode actually. But I ultimately have fun, which is why I'm going to talk about something else in the future. But I think I've said all that I pretty much wanted to say about this. So we're going to go ahead and move on to Deep Sea Shenanigans, aka
BioShock, which Joe mentioned earlier. But BioShock was, again, it's one of my favorite games. If you can notice the theme here so far, horror has been the theme so far. I do like horror games. I hate horror movies. I don't know why. It's just how it is. But BioShock I love just, the old aesthetic to it, the feel to it, and just the idea of a city that's under the ocean and things go wrong, genetic splicing. You get the powers with like the fireball, the lightning, and then you have your guns and everything. And it's just overall it was a fun first-person shooter. And then it had its areas you can explore and stuff. Like you can straight line go through the story if you want, but every single area you had side paths that you could go on where you unlock more powers or better guns or just find stuff that's gonna scare the crap out of you.
Yeah, there was a lot of jump scares.
There was. My favorite one is in the medical plaza. You go and pick up one of the plasmids, and you turn around, the guy's just like, "Hello," right in your face, and I'm like, "Oh, what the hell?" Beat him with a wrench.
Yeah, I remember that.
My first playthrough of the game was mostly, using the guns. Second playthrough, I focused purely on the plasmids that built up your wrench. I did pure wrench playthrough the second time, and it was the most fun I've ever had with this game because I'm just walking, sneak, whack, and then just knock them out, and it'd be the greatest thing.
I think I managed to do, because in those kinds of games, it's a bad habit of mine just trying to go, and I guess I should blame Fallout and the Elder Scrolls series for it, like a jack of all trades build. Mm-hmm. Trying to do most of everything.
Yeah, it didn't work in that one too well. It did, but
I managed to get what I needed to. There were some things like the very high level stuff I wasn't often able to get, but I was able to get some higher level stuff. Mm-hmm. And that was fine, but it was also me being a coward. It also took me a while to complete this game.
Okay, yeah. No, I ran through this one pretty quickly. Wrench Jockey was the best thing you can use because it made your wrench do so much damage, and then you just either shock them or freeze them, and it's like bye. So yeah, I had fun with it, and then the second game came out, and I was super excited for it, and I loved the second game until you get to the end, where it's like the game's going, it ends. That's it. It's done. They rushed the ending, and it feels like they probably rushed the ending because they had a multiplayer on the second one. And it was very much a clone of what Call of Duty was doing at the time because Modern Warfare was so big at the time.
God, I hated that era.
No, that was a great era. Modern Warfare 2 was a great game, but anyways.
No, I hated that because well, I didn't care too much about first-person shooters because being on console, it's not exactly the most fluid of gameplays. Yeah. I went through it for a good portion of them, and I appreciated the Call of Duties, but it was more for the multiplayer that they were because it was the multiplayer that was making the money.
It was the multiplayer era, which
but then there was like games that would just sacrifice development time and just try to do this clone that is just a clone.
That's what BioShock 2 tried to do. They had the level up system. You unlock the guns. Now, when BioShock 2, what they did, one of the biggest things for me is they introduced the ability to use both a plasmid and a gun at the same time with your left trigger and your right trigger. Whereas in the first one, you had to switch between them.
That's right. I don't know why I confused it.
So they introduced this in the second game, and then you go play multiplayer, and it's back to the first game's system where you can switch between them, but you can't have them both. And I'm like, why would you introduce this new system and then not include it in your multiplayer? And then the ending, you can tell that they're just like, okay, we're done with this. That's it. We're done. We're going to move on. And then they did move on. They moved on to a game that I feel like shouldn't have even been called BioShock. They included DLCs so that it could be called BioShock because BioShock Infinite was a piece of hot garbage to me.
Don't worry, the next one will probably also be a piece of hot
garbage. It was
according to rumors.
It was on rails the entire way, no exploration to it. No, like it was a whole different area, which was cool. It was a cool idea, a city in the sky. I get what they were doing. But it wasn't BioShock anymore. It wasn't Big Daddies and Little Sisters, which were iconic parts to me, at least for BioShock. None of that was part of it until the DLCs, which I feel like they probably did because so many people mentioned it. It didn't feel like BioShock. So it felt like they kind of shoved those DLCs in there to connect the two. And I hated it. I hated the gameplay. I hated the story. I didn't care for Elizabeth. I didn't care for Booker. I didn't care for the enemies.
Booker catch!
Yeah, I didn't care for anything about that game. Like, I did like the colonial America theme. That part I did like. Besides that, I didn't care for it.
I never played the second one.
And I absolutely hated the stupid hook onto rails and fly around the map thing. That was not fun.
So I never played 2 or Infinite, so I can't really say anything on it. I played the first one, I enjoyed it, and I guess that was kind of the peak of where my interest was.
2 was my favorite one up until the ending. If that ending didn't exist, it would have been my favorite one. But because of that,
Man,
the story in 1 was just so much better.
you just summed up Mass Effect 3 for
Yeah,
me.
right. Yeah, they're
Like, I never thought of it that way, but thank you. Go
There's
ahead.
so much to the game that I loved about the first one. The whole idea of mind control. It kind of fed into the whole MK Ultra thing with the CIA and that whole theory and all that. And the guy you're playing is being controlled the whole time, and you don't realize it until like 3/4 of the way through the game. Everything you've done up to that point.
Yeah, it was good
control.
writing. It was
Great. And then you find out that you're the son of one of the guys in the city, and that you've actually been there before. When supposedly you're just a guy that crashed in an airplane. Turns out you crashed the airplane too. It's your fault. But yeah, it was a great game. I really loved it. And I love just how they revealed things slowly throughout it, and just didn't throw it all in your face in the intro. You're just like, wait, what happened? Oh, the plane crashed. Okay, well, where am I? What's going on? This city's mysterious. This guy's helping me, but that guy's actually a dick, but he's still helping me right now. But anyways, I think I said enough about it, which I think this is leading us to one of your favorite games of all time here.
That's right. And this one, we're going to go ahead and say Furry National Treasure 2, Respect Between Crooks. What it actually called is Sly 2 Band of Thieves. Now, in the PS2 era, or at least for me growing up, there were kind of 3 mascots. There was kind of like a mascot war, or they tried to make a war. It was stupid, whatever. But there was the fanboys who liked the 3 mascots. 2 of them were Ratchet and Clank.
Very popular.
And then Jak and Daxter, another very popular. They're
Those
3D
are probably-
platformer.
Those are probably the 2 most popular of the 3, unfortunately.
Probably. I don't know. Well, unfortunately, yeah. But there was a third one at the time. It was a little stealth platformer called Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus. That was the first one in the series, and I'm talking about the second one. Why? Because it does, again, what a sequel should do, is build what was good in the first one and also fixes and, changes up the gameplay of it. Because in this one, you're not just playing as Sly Cooper. No. Now you get to play as Bentley the Turtle, the guy who was your tech guy that just did the hack stuff in the first game, and then also as Murray.
The hippo?
Murray the Hippo. That's right.
Hippo.
Murray was originally just the guy who drove the van, and you had to kind of protect him like a kind of sniper mission.
Okay.
But then Sly 2, he was the muscle now.
I mean,
He
he's
was
a hippo.
the Murray.
Okay.
You understand? You don't mess with the Murray.
Okay.
And then at the time I had just I kind of watched Ocean's 11, so it was pretty much Ocean's 11 meets with a Sly Cooper skin, and it was great because it was still kind of the same formula at the same time. Because in the first game, your main antagonists were called the Fiendish Five.
Okay.
And you had 5 levels, and each one devoted to each member of the Fiendish Five.
Makes sense.
And this one, other than the first guy you encounter, you pretty much go, each bad guy of the Claw game gets 2 levels.
I don't know what that means.
It's pretty much, there is still 5 members.
Okay.
So you've got 9 levels.
Is it the same 5 members again, or
No, it's a different 5 members, but the other original members are mentioned. That's what's great about the introduction area of the game.
So it's a raccoon fighting the Sinister Six.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I have
Except
never
not
played
Sinister
them, so-
6, it's Sinister 5.
Oh, yeah,
and it's Fiendish 5. So there's no Sinister in it, but they are Sinister.
Okay.
Because the end of it has an evil owl that's like immortal and turned itself into a Terminator because it fucking hates the Cooper family and killed his father.
It's always an owl.
It's always an owl. But I mean, owls and raccoons are natural enemies.
I have seen
And he's got the hots for a fox.
the owl does, or the raccoon?
The raccoon. I don't know. There was originally going to be a movie for like Sly Cooper, but it just got, I guess,
Do you want a movie for Sly Cooper?
yes, if done well. I mean, Sean, the beginning of the Sly Cooper series is pretty much a thief wanting vigilante justice from a crime syndicate that murdered his father and stole his family heritage.
Batman.
Yes. But I mean,
Oh yeah, no.
again, it just built off of everything that the previous game had. The gameplay was again improved upon in combat. It was because the original one had if you were lucky, it had a 3-hit system, and that's if you had the lucky horseshoes.
Lucky horseshoes.
And
Okay.
the golden lucky horseshoes. That means that's 2 silver golden horseshoes.
Oh boy.
That means you could get hit 3 times.
Now, what horse is dropping these horseshoes?
They're just randomly around the world, or you get 100 coins.
Is there even a horse character?
No. I don't think.
How do you have horseshoes and not a horse character? Is there a donkey?
Is there a donkey? No, there's no
Yeah.
donkey. No, they're just magical horseshoes that keep you alive at least 2 times. So you get shot like 2 times and be fine.
Oh, so it's like the Ooga Ooga mask.
Yes, it's exactly
Okay.
like that system. It's
Okay.
that
I don't even know
old
its
crash
name.
system. And that was kind of what's great about it because that's what it was. And personally, Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonist, I think, is if you were to ever introduce anyone into gaming, the perfect beginner game.
Okay.
I honestly think that because they introduce so many different varieties within it. Like you have a first-person shooter aspect, you have a tank control aspect, you have a overview 3D aspect. It brings up a pixel aspect. It's a stealth platformer.
Okay.
It brings in stealth. It brings in it has puzzles. So
Yeah.
much. But then Sly 2 again builds up more because then it's Ocean's 11. And it's an open world aspect, but you actually go and you collect things, and of course there's still collectibles, and there's power-ups that you can buy via the dark web, because of course every child should know about, oh no, it's called ThiefNet.
ThiefNet. Okay.
Well, I'm not expecting children to watch this, so they're gonna find out about the dark web. They probably already know and saw some shit.
The dark web.
Oh, I know I have. Anyways, I think that's pretty much all I can say on Sly 2. It's a game I can go back and play for hours. I actually, what was it? Yeah, when I first got it, I had realized that I had gotten close to beating it in 3 days because my sister's boyfriend at the time was mentioning, man, that was quick. I was like, yeah, you're right. And then I just deleted my save and started over.
Yeah.
And I took my time with it, and I enjoyed it even more. And it's just great. And Sly 3 it's good. It does add some stuff. It's not my favorite, but it's still fun. It's still fun to play. Thieves in Time, just kind of more of the same. I appreciate it because I was getting something that I didn't think I would.
But they didn't improve on it much.
Yeah, like I said, it's more of the same, but I do appreciate some of the stuff that they tried to build on it.
Okay.
And with that, I think we can go ahead and move on with Just Before Night Royalty, a.k.a.
The Legend of Zelda: Twilight Princess.
Now, I have never played any of the Legend... Well, I think I may have played a Legend of Zelda game on the Super Nintendo. I'm not sure which one. And it may not even have been a Legend of Zelda game.
So, as we all know, or maybe we don't, there are a lot of Zelda games. They got timelines that go this way, that way, that way.
Oh, yeah.
Down, left, right.
There hasn't been a
spiral.
storyline this confusing since Kingdom Hearts.
But it does eventually all kind of collapse in on itself into one storyline again, but that's a different story. It's not the Twilight Princess story. Twilight Princess is my favorite one. That was easy for me to choose. I like Ocarina of Time. I know a lot of people love that one more. But Twilight Princess really, it just really spoke to me. I like that one a lot. It had, the music was great. The story was great. You had the gimmick of that one was turning into a wolf, because every Zelda has a gimmick. Breath of the Wild being open world, crappy weapons that can hit twice and break. Breath of the Wild is one of my least favorite ones. but we'll talk.
Ironically, that was my introduction, and I was just more impressed technically what they were doing, the Switch could do.
It is a great game. It's not Zelda to me. It was
I
missing so
understand that.
much. Like there was music, but there wasn't music. It wasn't like the musical journey that every other one was. The dungeons were more or less the same. Like each divine beast was the same on the inside with different puzzles.
Yeah, I
Whereas
could agree with you there.
in
Like
almost
that was
every other game is stuff like the forest temple, the water temple, the fire temple, and they're all completely differently themed. They're completely different aesthetics. And that's what really bothered me is that everything in the game kind of had the same aesthetic throughout the entire world. They spent so much time on making the open world, they didn't make it quite unique because the shrines, different puzzles, more or less look the same on the inside, every single one of them. And now you'll see, because I'm going to make you play Skyward Sword on the Switch, which I have, because you'll see what I mean.
Yeah, it makes me. I'm happy that Nintendo's kind of adopted the system of where that Nintendo Play or whatever, where they're throwing all their older stuff and like on the Switch, and I could be able to just with a yearly subscription if I want to get it.
Yep.
So I was flirting with the idea, and I mean, I like the series. I followed a little bit before I played Breath of the Wild because I didn't own a Switch at the time, but I managed to watch, I think it was a Game Trailers explanation of it, and boy, I was like, what the f is going on? I was like, okay, there are three, there's like, okay, so there's this timeline, and there's this timeline. I was like, that's not even mentioning the third timeline. I was like, what the f? There's a third one?
The way I see it, and it's not right, but the way I see it is the ones on the console are the main timeline. That's all I cared about, really. I didn't really care about the Game Boy ones too much. I did play them. I liked them. But the ones on the console were the ones I liked.
And then you
better.
realize that fucking Island Adventure one, or what the fuck was that one called? It was like where you had the sun, where the boat.
Wind Waker.
Wind Waker. I was gonna say Breath of the Wild again, but that's no. Wind Waker was. Then that was just another timeline, Chronicle one.
That's when they got all cartoony with it.
It was like, at the time too, I was like, man, I'm already having this fucking problem with Kingdom Hearts. Trying to just play. Thank God they decided to re-release everything on like the PS3 and PS4 and all that, because fucking A, there's no way you're gonna own all those different ones.
No,
like,
there's
the
too much
director's
story to
cuts, and it's like, Jesus Christ,
way
dude.
too much stories. But the Twilight Princess itself had all those aspects I like. It had like a foresty temple, it had a water temple. They weren't really temples, but then you had like the Temple of Time, which was one place you got to go and actually explore, which was really cool. And the world itself was cool. There's multiple types of enemies. That was another complaint for me for Breath of the Wild, is you had the moblins, the other things, and the Lionels,
the lizards,
and the robots. Oh yeah, lizards. Oh, and wizards. But that was it. And like even into like different places, it was. Like, at the fire near the Mount Doom or whatever. Mount Doom, I think so. There was fire lizards, but in the Snowland there's ice lizards. And I'm like, okay. Creative, I guess. Whereas the other Zelda games, some of the dungeons, they had monsters that were themed specifically for that dungeon. Like Twilight Princess, you're fighting a bunch of monkeys in one of them. And then...
You fight a bunch of monkeys. They're just wearing that stupid eye, and they're part of a cult.
Those are people.
I think they hop around like a bunch of monkeys.
All right, but no, you fight legitimate monkeys. The boss, one of the mini bosses in the first dungeon of Twilight Princess is a baboon, and the whole goal is to smack his ass and teach him a lesson for being a bad monkey.
I think that's literally what you do with one of the bosses in Breath of the Wild.
But Breath of the Wild, like the main bosses was Ganon, Water Ganon, Fire Ganon, Lightning Ganon, Air Ganon.
Yeah.
And then Calamity Ganon. Whereas in like Twilight Princess, you had, I don't know what the fuck, experimental Twilight plant Petty Piranha went through, but he was mean. And then you had like, I just remembered the giant tarantula boss Oh boy, that thing was fucking creepy. But and then there's a lot of cool bosses throughout the game, you know, and it was very. There's just diverse like cast characters. The mini games, which there were mini games in Breath of the Wild, but the mini games in the other ones just they held a different note compared to Breath of the Wild to me. So, but Twilight Princess was the one for me, and I hope they remake that one soon because I will buy it. But with that said, that will get us to our honorable mentions. I think we should probably make them kind of quick. Not go too much in detail on
Not too long, but I think there are some things that need to be said.
You are going to say way too much about it, so no.
I will, but guess what? You never brought the buzzard, so...
I will stop him.
Yeah, well, until I hear that buzzer going,
This was our top 3 games, honorable
That's
mentions.
fine. Well, unfortunately, you also said you were going to bring a buzzer, and you never brought the buzzer, so...
I will smack the table.
That's not a buzzer, though. That's just smacking the table like a toddler.
Anyways... First honorable mention.
So the first honorable mention that I brought up was Dragon Age. Now, as I said, I had a hard time with this one between Mass Effect and Dragon Age, but ultimately I chose Mass Effect first because that ultimately came first. That being said, Dragon Age still has a very special place in my heart. Specifically, Dragon Age Origins, the first one that I don't know if this was like a board game type system before or whatever. I think it might have been, but... Honestly, I fell in love with this one because, again, it was something you could do where if you jump through some hoops, you can keep everybody alive. It might piss off some people, ultimately. You can't keep everybody happy, but they'll be alive and everything, you know. You can make political parties agree with everything. You can do everything. You had a love interest and everything and all that. The gameplay was a little bit slow, especially on a console, but ultimately I was able to get around it and I was able to play with it. You know what? I'm just going to go ahead and end it with that. I'm not going to bring up any more else. Moving on, we're going to go ahead with Sean's.
Metal Gear Solid 3. That was actually the hardest choice for me was because I have a top 4 games, not top 3. But I love Metal Gear Solid 3 specifically. I've played them all, but 3 is just, it was really good. It's got that kind of James Bondy feel. It's the Cold War. You're playing Snake's dad, also Snake, who later becomes, you know, a bad guy that Snake himself has killed, and it's just a lot of intertwining storyline in it. You find out some stuff about the past, and it was just really fun for me.
That was another one that I could have gotten into, but because one thing about me is I try to go from first to the following games, which I know with Zelda, well, now I could technically, but it's going to be harder for me to do. But go on.
That one you could start with Metal Gear Solid 3 because technically it's the first in the timeline. But anyways, on to our next one. This is one that we both feel was an honorable mention, correct?
Yeah, it has a special place in my heart, and I kind of blame it for all my problems with other survival games, and that one being Ark.
Yeah, Ark. I really like Ark. I've got probably over 1,000 hours on that game at least.
At least 2,000 for me. It was my, I guess you could say, during the dawn of the survival game era. It was my first early access game that I guess I contributed to, and it has its ups and downs. Studio Wildcard is not, unfortunately, as...
I didn't have to pay for the game at all.
That's true.
Joe wanted to play with people, so he paid for the entire game, essentially, for me without it. I don't even think you realized it until, I didn't realize it until now. You bought me the base game in early access.
That's because I got it for you on sale.
Yep.
I got them all on sale.
And then you got us the
for
season
you
pass.
For Christmas. Yeah, it was your Christmas gift.
The season pass for all the expansions, and then you got us the second season pass.
What you don't all realize is ultimately all your shit together just cost me...
Probably like $5-10. It was on sale, yeah.
It was Christmas gifts, so you know what? It was fine. And we all play... we all get our own servers and everything. I have a bad habit of just judging other survival games
based off of Ark.
Based off of Ark. Well, mainly because I just like the dinosaurs. I like the graphics.
I like the taming. I do. I like
the building for me is... Yeah, the building for me is... I don't know... It's both simplified. There are certain things I want changed, but there are mods that change them. But I like it. I figured most of it out by now. And I just, for whatever reason, I don't like other survival game crafting for some... I just can't. It's like, for whatever reason, Ark is it. Like Ark
Yeah.
is my survival game. I hope Ark 2 becomes, even better.
Here's looking at you, Vin Diesel. You're in charge of this stuff, man.
Oh, I know. Good luck, Vin Diesel.
Oh yeah, but no, Arc 2 is looking like it's gonna shape up to something completely different than what Arc 1 was, but it's still gonna deliver, the tames and the base game, and hopefully do what a sequel is supposed to do.
Yes, exactly as I've been saying. Builds upon what the original was. Keep what's good and build on that. Fix the broken. And yeah.
And then one more honorable mention for me was Banjo-Kazooie. I really like Banjo-Kazooie. Just
Another platformer of the bygone era.
Yep, they don't make them like that anymore. Collecting the puzzle pieces or the coins or the Junos.
It's
different
gonna be fun
levels.
watching you play the Sly Cooper games.
I think I'll enjoy them. I really like those old platforming games like that with like the cartoony characters. I like where you gotta collect like the stars or the puzzle pieces or more stars. Thank you, Mario. Mario always collects stars.
Oh, it's great. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't
But
wait.
they don't make games like that anymore. Like Nintendo still does every now and then. Odyssey was great. It was
That's the one I need to.
It was pretty
hop
much,
on,
it was like that. But they don't. It's just really they don't. The other systems aren't making them. They're not as popular. That's the problem.
Yeah, they're it's still out there. Like you got to know where to look, but definitely one that you're not going to see. Like I'm hoping to see another Sly Cooper in the future. Who knows? But I think now we're going to go on to our next section. But also an honorable mention for me, as we go as for a hope to see. But I wanted to bring this up as Dragon's Dogma, and hope to see in the future Dragon's Dogma 2. I am stupid in love with that game.
I've tried it again, and I've tried it again, and it doesn't grab my attention, unfortunately.
Which is weird because it is the director of Resident Evil 4.
Yeah, that
Or
doesn't...
no, I'm sorry. It is the director of Devil May Cry and the team behind Resident Evil 4 and Monster Hunter. And
doesn't mean it's good, though.
it is. It's great. It's a passion project. And you feel the passion with it because if you just it's a game that I have tried so many different times with all the different classes. I've tried so many different pawn builds that I like, and I made my pawn. I wonder how much shit you got. Like it has an interesting online aspect where you can share your pawn with different players, and then you can also, depending on what happens, like your pawn can learn, so it could give you tips on how to defeat certain enemies. The game's been re-released like 6 or 7 times, as well as like Grand Theft Auto. The fucking DLC, it's pretty much came out called Dark Arisen, which pretty much made it Dark Souls for dummies.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a great high fantasy game where it's one of those things where like the enemies have weaknesses. You can aim at the Cyclops' eye and you can knock it down, and then you could just electrocute it because he has armor on. But then you can try and grab its tendrils. It's that game where it's you watching an anime. And they're always playing that super dope game where they're making like the abilities. The mages are shooting just the fucking star blasts of energy. It's that game, and it's just so much fun.
Into it. I tried,
That's why I'm hoping for a sequel,
so that I can get into it.
so you can get into it, and that they fix and build upon everything because you couldn't make your pawns everything that you wanted to. But I feel like it wouldn't be too broken, and it would just benefit the game even more. And so moving on for what we hope to see in the future, Sean, I think we both have something to say, but
Half-Life 3. It's never gonna happen. You screwed me on the story of 2. I want to just know what happens. Just at least tell me what happens, guys.
no, Steam doesn't like the Letter 3.
No, they don't.
The Letter 3 touched Steam when it was a child, and they don't like it.
Give me Half-Life 4, because they didn't even give me Episode 3. They're like, we're gonna make it 3 instead.
You got Half-Life.
We're not doing
Go
it
buy
anymore.
a VR system.
I heard that was actually pretty good.
I
and
also
would
heard it was pretty
be
good.
willing to, get there eventually, but
But Sean, you have to find that one rock in the Lost Chapter that will open the path
to
for Half-Life 3.
I feel like if it was that one rock, someone would have found it already. I'm sure someone has scoured these.
It's because they're not looking at it at the right angle.
But anyways, in more reality, because a lot of these games are getting sequels currently, like Crash Bandicoot got one recently, Ratchet and Clank got one recently. We're hoping to see a new Jak and Daxter game.
I would like to see a new Jak and Daxter. Jak and Daxter had its 3 initial games, and then for some reason turned into a racing game. I don't know
Twisted
why.
Metal Racing.
It was a Twisted
Or
Metal.
no, I'm sorry, Mad Max Racing.
Yes, Mad Max Racing, which at the time I fucking hated racing games, so I didn't appreciate it. Now I kind of
It
do.
was a fun game.
I do appreciate it now, but I do think it would benefit from getting from, like especially from the developers of 2 and 3, just getting that treatment or getting an HD remake because it was just fun.
I love the difference from 1 to 2 went from like, hey, just jump on stuff to, hey, you got guns now.
yeah, jump kick, but then it still kept true with the elements.
It did.
So, like, the element of, instead the element was just turned into ammo and it turned into your different guns, but which still kept true with it. Like, red was strength, so of course it's a shotgun.
And he grew up a little bit, too, and it was
a
fun game.
Yeah, it was funny because then it turned from rated E to, I think, T.
Yep. But he was also grown up, too.
Yeah, and it was like, you just heard Daxter saying, hell, and I was like, all that crap, and I was like, man, I'm a grown-up now. Man, that game was hard. That fucking last enemy took me so long.
They were very...
I rage quit so much on that last fucking... What was a metalhead boss.
Yeah.
But moving on to one that we both agree on, and I think we're going to take a little longer with this one because they just announced its new expansion, but just a good MMO. Another new, different MMO. It doesn't even
have to be new. It can be an expansion, like the Dragonflight expansion that we hope is going to be good. But I need an MMO game with that open world, that fantasy where you get your friends together, make the guild, do the raids, do the dungeons. That isn't just a boring crap fest, which a lot of them have been lately to me. Like I tried, was it New World?
Yes.
Yeah, I tried that one, and it just kind of turned into a farm fest, and I'm like, okay, I'm done with this one. It's whatever. I've tried so many different ones, so I'm hoping Dragonflight will really seal the deal with us with what feels like minimal content, but still.
Yeah, the same problem I had with Ark, I can also apply to World of Warcraft, because although I have played different MMOs, it's ultimately the same thing where if I'm going to devote time to something, I might as well devote it to World of Warcraft because I actually have something that I like in there, and it's just like a lot of these MMOs don't grab me that often.
I feel myself kind of comparing it to World of Warcraft every time just because I've played it for so long. It's got that place that, it's been there the whole time. It's just...
Yeah, it's...
The announcement for this expansion, the more interviews that come out, the better it's looking. That is for sure, but the initial reveal it felt lacking to me. It felt like we were getting kind of shafted a little bit. There wasn't many features, and I know I want player housing, and I know it's never going to come, but that's not all. They could have done something else. I feel like it felt a little lazy at first, but then when they went into the details of what they're actually changing and how much they're actually changing, they're actually doing quite a lot. Like, if they follow through and finally make professions an actual part of your character that actually matters, because professions haven't mattered since Wrath of the Lich King at all. I get, maybe Cataclysm a little bit, but from Wrath of the Lich King on, the professions, they just got worse and worse every expansion. They lost more and more meaning, and then Warlords of Draenor came out and they really lost their meaning. And then Legion came out and brought some meaning back to it. And then Battle for Azeroth's like, now let's take that meaning away from it again. And then Shadowlands is like professions. No, you don't need that. But now they're talking about allowing us to actually craft gear that's usable at high levels and stuff, and bringing back, like specializing in armor smithing, weapon smithing, stuff like that, and specialization skills and different things that you can get for professions, which I want to see it more fleshed out, because right now they're just saying a lot without showing a lot. And that's a problem. The only thing they've really shown us is the 2 spells that dragon class can do, and that's the laser and the fireball. They haven't really showed us much else. Like, oh, and we got a cinematic, but they are telling us a lot and they're promising us a lot. But they're not showing it.
Yeah, and a big thing, especially for someone like me, who, as anyone who's watched our previous stuff, has been kind of burned on this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hopeful, like, playing a new mid-range healer or DPS class could be interesting. It's a dragon stuff. I like dragons, so the idea is interesting. I can't forget Legion, or I can't forget Shadowlands. I can't forget what they've done.
I feel like with this expansion, though, they've really opened a can of worms they didn't need to open by making a class and a race that are only able to be each other. It could have just been a class at that point then. It could have been the Drakthir class or the Evoker class, which gives you the option to be a dragon. Just like the Demon Hunter class gave you the option to have demon horn things, Like, it increased your customizations there. But now they opened a can of worms like, oh, well, why can't they be warriors? Why can't they be mages? And it's like, well, that's because of the lore. Well, don't be lazy with that. Don't make that up because of lore. And people are getting mad about it. They should have just made it a class that allows you to choose any of the races and dragonize it.
Yeah. So,
but
the thing I can say about that is coding may be different, so they might just be testing the waters with this. They could add that. Like, I don't see a problem with them adding that later.
I don't
see them having a problem with them adding a blue dragonflight mage.
I think that what they're doing is leaving it open for the possibility of adding classes later if the lore that they're half paying attention to meets it. Because, I mean, these dragons are here now. Some of them might not be good at using their dragon magic and want to just go swing a big hammer. And that's what they want to do. And so you can make, the racials will still have some of that chromatic evoker kind of stuff to it. But the idea is that they're not as good as the evokers at what they're doing.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Ultimately, I'm hopeful for Dragonflight. I don't know what I could, like I said, I'm also burnt out at the same time. It's like I don't want to be disappointed again. I don't want them to build up something that could potentially be fucking epic, and then ultimately just being this boring piece of shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or
exactly.
turn a fucking fan favorite character and do fucking nothing with them, and then ultimately just discard them as a whole.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping we don't do. I'm hoping they don't just take Raytheon and be like, all right, we're done with him.
Which, let's be fair, is entirely fucking possible.
I mean,
I'm sorry, it's always going to be a bitter pill to me because that's my character. But going on,
you gotta get over it.
Never. Never.
I'm hoping that we don't have to do like Raytheon boss raid fight or anything like that.
I think we've done
be a good
that.
character.
I think, thankfully, that N'Zoth shit has introduced us to that one aspect. So this is what he would look like as a raid boss. If any raid related shit he's gonna have now is either going to be an illusion or mind control, but
also, who knows what they're doing with the story? They told us there's primal elemental, or not elements. Oh, elemental primal proto dragons, which are as strong as the Aspects were at their time, and they fought a great war, but the Aspects ultimately defeated them, which includes the fall of Galakron. But there's the 4 proto dragons still that are awakening again, and that's all we know.
And there's mentioning. So here's the thing, right? Lore wise, you could do some cool shit if you throw in Galakron. Like the proto dragons and all that, I think is cool. It's still a cool aspect, and if they decide to go with their own thing with it, that's cool. Personally, I want a Galakron fight. I think a gigantic proto dragon.
Well, that's what they're saying.
I want Galakron to be the Deathwing fight I didn't get.
So that's what it sounded like they're doing with these elemental proto dragons, because they're supposedly as big as Galakron or close to in size, because they're proto dragons. They're not proto drakes, but we don't know anything about what they're doing. Some people are theorizing that there's going to be a Caverns of Time raid with Galakrond, which would make sense.
Which would, and I'm hopeful. And you know what? If ever a time to use it,
but then
that's what the Caverns of Time should have been. Caverns of Time should have been us just not changing something, but just being there. You know, being at the battling Archimonde.
There had to be a reason for us to be there, though. There had to be a reason, and the reason of every Caverns in Time is that the Infinite Dragonflight is interfering.
Yes, that's true.
So that
at the same time, they also brought up
Dragonflight are protecting Galakrond. He's going to survive if we don't stop them, and that's how that would end up being. Probably.
Maybe that's how this whole fucking thing starts. Is just the fucking Infinite Dragonflight protecting Galakrond. That'd be dope.
I don't think we're gonna get.
They did bring up the Infinite Dragonflight.
They didn't bring up. Yeah, they did talk about that, but that's more Norzdamu's story and him having to deal with the fact that he knows he becomes the leader of the Infinite Dragonflight at some point in time. He doesn't know why.
Nozdormu or whatever.
Nozdormu, yeah.
Nozdormu
becomes Mozdormu or whatever.
Yeah, I forget. Yeah. That was an interesting one.
But so they're talking about that. I don't think we're gonna actually see Galakrond, but I think we're gonna get a lot of story around him, and it's gonna focus more on the proto dragons and some unknown threat that's gonna make itself.
Oh my God! It's the void.
Yeah, probably.
Who knew the void was coming?
It might be. Yeah, probably.
I don't.
Oh, and we're off in the Scourge. It sounds like in the patch.
Yeah, cool. Just yank it off of that one.
Anyways, I think we've said enough.
I think we have said enough. Let's leave this on my depressing note. But thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Those Common Nerds. I know it's taken us a long time, but you know what? Life just happens, and we're trying different things. Again, throwing lots of shit against the wall. This is my 5th TV I've gone through. I really need to stop throwing like the heavier stuff.
Yeah, it's probably a good idea.
But you know what? I'm still going to throw something. So, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one.
Yep.
Later.
Later.